This is the second in a series of training videos developed to introduce medical volunteers to the use of electronic medical records currently in use at Mission of Hope International in Grand Goave, Haiti, and soon to be in use in Nicaragua. We are using Practice Fusion, a free EMR program which is relatively easy to learn and use. To log in, go to www.practicefusion.com and log in here. Then enter practice ID, which in this case is John Davenport PR, followed by username and password. These two items will have been sent to you or will soon be sent to you by Practice Fusion. Note that this login provides access only to the training practice database, which is populated with fictitious patients. Other login information will be provided for the real patient database before you leave for your mission. Login will take you to the Practice Fusion homepage, and you can view all the patients in the database by clicking on Charts. At this point, you should have a patient sitting in front of you, so we will go through an example of how to proceed. Our patient is a child brought in by his parents. His last name is Test Newborn, and his first name is apparently Jack, but uncertainty is common since Haitians give surnames first, given names second, and often write names with inconsistent spelling. Our first step is to see if he is already in the database, and that process is started by entering some descriptor in the search boxes to the left. Medical record number works well if the patient has that on a laminated card from a previous visit, but surname can be used otherwise. Typing just test into the last name search box pulls up a list of patients whose surnames begin with those letters. We can narrow the field by adding another letter, and now we have 3 patients named Test Newborn, and the top one is Jack. Click on his name, and his chart pops up for entry of further information. Let's close that chart for a moment, however, and discuss the circumstance of James Test Toddler, who is brought in by a parent who is not sure whether or not he has been to the clinic before. So once again, we have to search the patient list to make sure that we are not duplicating a patient. So we will change our search to Test Toddler or Test Todd, and we come up with 4 children, surnames Test Toddler, but none of them is James. We then search all patients and get a list of possible matches, and we can look through that to make sure we're not missing James. Sometimes, because of the inconsistency in spelling, it is worth going through looking at birth dates and even addresses to see if we can identify someone whose name is similar to our patient's and has identical birth date or address. In this case, however, we find no such patient, so we will create him as a new patient. This pulls up a window for entering demographic data, and we first click on the Generate Record Number box so that we will have a medical record number for this patient. We enter first name and complete his last name. Select sex, male, and birth date. Now here, his parent is certain that he is 5 years old, so we will change the year to reflect that. There is some question about his actual date of birth, but his parent believes that it was in the first month of the year, so we'll go to January, and absent an exact date, we will use January 1 as default. We have email and mobile phone numbers, Email is very uncommon to find in Haiti, so we will note that the patient doesn't have that. And mobile phone numbers are much more common and can serve as a very helpful means of identifying patients if they're available. In this case, it is not available, so we will note that. Address is usually a little difficult to come by, although the city is usually available. Further address elements are sometimes available, sometimes not. But enter whatever you can and then save. This brings up James Test Toddler's chart, and he is now ready to be seen in triage. Let's close this, however, and go back to our original patient, Jack Test Newborn. He goes to triage, where the nurse will start a chart note. These are almost universally SOAP notes, so we click on that and a blank SOAP note comes up. I'm going to go to a SOAP note that I have populated with some vital signs earlier to show that we always do height, weight, and blood pressure. Temperature, pulse, and respirations may or may not be done depending on the patient's complaint. In this case, Jack is complaining of headache. It is important to limit chief complaint to just a few words, although that may be occasionally difficult to do, as many patients will come in with lists of 4 or 5 different complaints. In that circumstance, it is quite appropriate to ask the patient to limit his complaints to his top 2 concerns. This is the end of charting for the triage nurse, and the chart is now closed, and the patient goes on to the physician or mid-level provider who reopens the chart on his own computer. He now has the option to review historical information on Jack. If he needs to alter anything, he can click on one of these headings, go to Edit, and change anything as necessary. There are 2 items here which are populated automatically. The prescription list is expanded whenever a prescription is written in the EMR, and growth is also populated automatically when height and weight are entered by the triage nurse. To review a previous visit, you can click on the date for that visit under Events and see what happened the last time Jack was seen in clinic. Let's go back, though, to today's date and start to get some information regarding Jack's complaints today. This is a reasonable point also to select a font using one of these 3 capital letter A's. I'm going to select the biggest to make things a little easier to read in this demonstration. The first step for the provider is to click on S for subjective, and up pops a list of possible complaints. We scroll down to headache and click on that. That in turn brings up a list of possible symptoms, and at this point we can enter information into the subjective box in one of 2 ways, either by typing free text or by clicking on various elements in here, such as the pain began gradually, and that automatically is entered in the subjective box. There is a history of tension headaches. The pain is dull. And as soon as all subjective information is obtained, or as much as can be obtained, the next step is to go to objective. And here again we can enter free text, or we can enter various elements of physical examination. When that is fully entered, assessment, and this is looking very much like tension headache, so we will choose that option and enter it into the assessment box. Next step is plan, and here we have a number of options once again, including medications as noted, because it looks like Jack will need some pain medicine for his headache. We will discuss stress management with his parents, and we will ask that Jack return for follow-up. Note that when we click on that, it doesn't go directly to the plan box, but gives us an opportunity to enter where the question marks are some custom data, and I will say that he should return in 2 weeks for a recheck or sooner if necessary. In all of these boxes, it is possible to create a custom template, which you might do if you envision using it not just for this patient, but for future patients as well. And then, of course, you save that, and it is in the list for subsequent use. We've said we're going to give Jack some medication, so we click on the medication box at the bottom of the plan, and we see Jack's allergies here. He has none. We have a search box here, and if you enter the first 2 or 3 or 4 letters of the medication that you're interested in prescribing, and then hit enter, a lengthy list of medications will pull up. Now at this point, it is important to note that not all of those medications are available in the clinic formulary, and each provider will be given a laminated list of what is available. So make sure that when you're prescribing medication, it is one that we have available. If you have previously prescribed medications for patients, they will appear in this frequently prescribed medication box, and you can click on that and decide what you want to give. I'm going to give Jack some ibuprofen. That pulls up a prescription blank, and you need to fill out the SIG, which is 1 daily, PRN. I will give him 30 of those and no refills. At that point, my prescription is complete, and I will record it, and it now appears at the bottom of my plan. At this point, you save the chart, and it pulls up so you can read what you have written. If you want to change something, you can go to Edit and change whatever is not right, and then, of course, save it once again. At this point, you have finished with Jack, and you click out of his chart. A few last words on templates. Let's go to the gear icon in the right upper corner, and then templates. There are 2 lists here. The one on the left is what is provided by Practice Fusion and is very extensive. The list on the right is what I have chosen from among these many possibilities by clicking on the box and then claiming the selected template. And my list is somewhat shorter because there are many things here that I would never use. I have added a few custom templates of my own, and if I wish, I can share any and all of these templates with my colleagues. For example, if I want to share my acne template, I can click on it. I can click on all of them if I wish, and then go to Share Selected Templates, and I have a list of all of the providers who have privileges in this database. I click on one or more of them, share, and we're done.